And at the peak in late 2021, the Bank of England had around £875 billion worth of gilt, which was roughly a third of the UK's entire national debt. So if you want to understand why the Bank of England is slowing its gilt sales and why it's a big deal, we need to go back to the financial crisis. And after the financial crisis, and also after Brexit, and especially during the pandemic, the Bank of England was buying huge amounts of UK government debt, so gilts. And that's what we call quantitative easing, or QE, or as most people might say, money printing. So the idea of that was pretty simple. The Bank of England was buying gilts from holders of those, so things like banks, which would then push down yields. So you've got to remember the way pricing works when it comes to bonds and gilts. So if you buy them, that increases demand and that pushes the price up, and yields move inversely to the price of a bond or gilt, so yields fall. So there's a seesaw effect if you think of it in simple terms. Why that's important is because gilt yields influence interest rates throughout the economy. So if gilt yields start to fall, not only does it make it cheaper to borrow for the UK government, but it also makes it cheaper for everybody. So you can think of things like mortgages, for example. But also when they were buying the gilts from the banks, it was also providing them with money, and that was providing liquidity into the marketplace. So that is the money printing, essentially. The Bank of England didn't actually print money. They used this facility, or this way of introducing liquidity into the economy. And it worked, but it did leave the bank with a mountain of government bonds. And at the peak in late 2021, the Bank of England had around £875 billion worth of gilt, which was roughly a third of the UK's entire national debt. So for a central bank, that's enormous.